All right, folks, we're back live here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Remember, keep it here for a Newsmax TV special interview with Donald Trump, who joins our very own J.D. Hayworth on Newsmax Prime right after this show at 8 p.m. and at 11 p.m. tonight. You will not want to miss it. Now, before we welcome in Stacy Washington, my Newsmax TV colleague Miranda Khan has a report for us, and here it is.
Steve, just days after coming under fire for his remarks about the Second Amendment and Hillary Clinton, Trump takes aim again, this time targeting Hillary Clinton and President Obama as the founders of ISIS.
ISIS is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS.
It's the statement that has sent yet another round of shockwaves on mainstream media.
Trump is not backing down after he called President Obama the founder of ISIS.
And in true Trump fashion, he refused to walk back his remarks.
Repeating his claim that President Obama and Hillary Clinton are, in his words, the founders of ISIS.
I think we'll give Hillary Clinton the, if you're on a sports team, most valuable player, MVP.
But Trump is far from alone in blaming the White House for the threat and rise of ISIS. A new Republican task force analysis shows the military also skewed its reports on tracking the Islamic State's rise in Iraq and Syria, making the situation appear better than it was.
And they were changing that data. They were politicizing it, manipulating it. This is incredibly dangerous, and it's a direct result of the culture from a White House and administration that didn't want to confront this.
And according to the New York Post, the United States has suffered a terror attack every year under President Obama, the most recent attack being Orlando, Florida, that nightclub shooting where 49 people were killed by a gunman who pledged his allegiance to ISIS. Steve, back to you.
All right, Miranda, thank you very much. All right, we're joined right now, folks, by Stacy Washington, host of Stacy on the Right Show. We want your phone calls at 877-NEWSMAX. That's 877-639-7629. Stacy, welcome back. Great to talk to you again. So, please explain to me why this is the headline of the mainstream media for the entire day, half of yesterday and all of today, that Obama said Hillary and Obama founded ISIS. Obviously, he doesn't mean that they had a meeting in a boardroom and drew up papers and incorporated it. Everyone knows what he means. Why is this so controversial when Obama called them the JV team? And now we know that CENTCOM, purposely, generals told the intelligence community, downplay the role of ISIS.
Well, Steve, thanks for having me back. This is part and parcel for the media. They don't call it the Clinton News Network for nothing. These media people have to focus on any statement that Donald Trump makes in order to distract away from the news, which is horrific. You've got Muslims threatening Christians in Germany. They're hiding their Bibles and their Christian paraphernalia now. They're under full throttle assault in Europe from not just ISIS, but Muslim immigration. As she just reported, an attack every year, some years more than one under the Obama administration. And everyone says George Bush was so awful on terror. At least he kept us safe. And then you have this news that the Department of Justice actually squashed an investigation that the FBI, multiple offices wanted to conduct into the Clinton Foundation, because everyone says Trump U was so awful. But what about laureate education and the Clinton Foundation? These are things that the American people need to be told about.
Absolutely. And Stacy, today we have that major story of the intel, the CENTCOM report. That's a report from the Republicans on the Intelligence Committee. We have that. We have the fact that the FBI recommended to the Justice Department that the Clinton Foundation be investigated, and DOJ said no. And we have another report that Cheryl Mills, while she was working with Hillary at the State Department as her right-hand person, was also flying to New York to interview applicants for a top job at the Clinton Foundation. All of these are blockbusters, and you and me are the only ones talking about it.
Well, I think that's the reason why your program is so huge. This is the reason why people are turning away from mainstream media and going to alternative sources where they're getting the absolute straight reporting that they deserve. The American people in 100 days before an election, they deserve to hear about what people have done running up to this election cycle, as opposed to what Donald Trump is saying. The issue is that most people hear Donald Trump saying these things. He sounds like us. He sounds like what you and I sound like when we're sitting around our table with friends and we're having a few drinks and we're discussing politics. That's what he sounds like. That's why none of us are shocked when he says the things that he says, because we understand where he's coming from. Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, is too busy coughing and trying to divert us from what's really going on with all of her scandals. There are so many.
Well, I'm glad you said coughing, because there's been so many instances. A picture was posted on Drudge, I think, over the weekend and on Monday. Turned out to be from this past February, of Hillary being helped up the stairs. We've seen her look disoriented on stage. I've played those clips. We've seen her look confused. We've seen various videos and pictures. And a new Rasmussen poll shows that overwhelmingly, almost 6 in 10 Americans say, show us your health records. Get an exam and show us your health records. You think that's ever going to happen, though?
No, because the doctors who examine her would end up dead. Let's face it, Steve, there are issues surrounding her that are much more serious than whether or not she coughs a lot. But I will say this. Do you remember back when George Bush, I think it was, had to have a colonoscopy, and they actually showed footage of the colonoscopy on television? That was how deeply into his health we were concerned as the American people. Yet we can't get a simple doctor's statement, like a note, like what you would get if you needed to stay home from work for more than a day or two. You'd get a note from your doctor saying this person is fine, or you get a bill of clean health if you were home with some communicable disease. Your doctor would send a note to work saying, hey, this person's clear, no more fever, they're good to work. Why can't we get something like that for her? We don't need the whole shebang. We just want to know, is she suffering from dementia? Is she suffering from post-stroke type activities? She's had a stroke. Or is it the blood clot? Is she continuing to suffer the effects of treatment from Coumadin? Is she still on Coumadin? I mean, there are so many questions. Can we get a few answers?
Yeah, you would think that we certainly should be able to, since this woman has a chance of becoming president. All right, let's get to the phones. Where'd the call go? Okay, we lost the call. So let me ask you about this. And this isn't anything new, because if you go to Barack Obama, we've never really seen the health records of Barack. We never saw Bill Clinton's health records, according to Dick Morris, who was on with us at the beginning of the week. And not only have we not seen, I don't think, Obama's health records, but we never saw his college records. How did they get away? Yet they're making a big issue here about Donald Trump and his tax returns.
Well, I think it's the double standard that we've been putting up with. The issue this election cycle is that we're dealing with a candidate, Donald Trump, who doesn't allow these double standards to go unnoticed the way Mitt Romney did. They used to make fun of him for being rich. Hillary Clinton's worth $55 million. Bernie Sanders, after raising epic amounts of money from broke college students, just bought his third home. He owns 3 houses. That's not socialism.
$600,000 summer home for Bernie. To be fair, he's got only 2 pair of underwear.
Well, and he's only, but no kids living at home in 4 bedrooms. Why would a socialist need 4 bedrooms?
Because he's going to take in refugees, obviously.
Oh, you know what? That town he moved to, I don't think they're going to let him bring in. They're naming sandwiches after him. I mean, this guy, he's not what he says. He's not a democratic socialist raising money on a campaign and then buying a house like that. Right. Hillary Clinton's not a good democratic socialist / leftist, owning 2 homes in New York and Chappaqua or Martha's Vineyard, 2 houses. This is not the good Democrat way.
No, well, it's the limousine liberal way. Certainly it is. Let's go to Eve from Las Vegas. Hello, Eve. You're first up on the Steve Malzberg Show with Stacy Washington. Hi.
Hi. Is this Steve?
Yes, it is.
Steve, darling. I absolutely agree with Mr. Trump when he says that Obama and Hillary are the founders of ISIS. And then I'm concerned about the majority of these white, educated women that won't vote for Mr. Trump because they only hear the ugly blurps that the media lets through. And how can we fight this?
Well,
these 2, the Clintons, are all the way back to Arkansas. I mean, don't these women do their homework?
Well, let's go to a black educated woman to ask about white educated women, Stacy Washington. Stacy, she has a good point, because Trump is doing terribly with them.
Well, I mean, but that's not that odd. Mitt Romney didn't do that well with
Right.
white college-educated women either. I think the issue is that they get their news from the same sources we were just ripping into just a few minutes ago. The best thing we can do as people who are well-informed is to make sure that we share this kind of information with women in our circles. Just let them know, not in an antagonistic way, but in a very factual way. You know, you're well educated. You should be looking at both sides of this issue. You shouldn't just be listening to sound bites that are pre-prepared for you by a media that stands against the other candidate.
Right.
Make sure that you've heard what he actually feels about tax reform or removing the regulations.
Absolutely.
Donald Trump has some amazing policies that people can talk about that
They got to get
college-educated women would love to hear about.
Absolutely, they got to get out there. Eve, thank you very, very much. All right, folks, stay here, Stacy. Up next, we're going to be joined by Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. He, of course, is the president of Bond and syndicated radio host. We'll take more of your calls, and Stacy will come back. It's a whole shebang here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Don't go anywhere.